in the Torah portion of Beha'alotcha, a parsha of dedication, of doubt, of sacrifice, of rest, of travel, of food, of protest, and of prayer. It is a parsha of wilderness leadership, of Aharon, Miriam, and Moshe. In the spirit of these three whom God sent to lead us, may you be blessed. May you be blessed with the Torah of Moshe, the Torah of Miriam, and the Torah of Aharon. Torah that is already known, and Torah that is still hidden. Torah that God gave from the heavens on a mountain in Sinai, and Torah that springs from the earth and the traveling wilderness well. Torah of protest and Torah of chasing peace. May you be blessed with the wisdom of presence, knowing when to stand and wait and when to dance with joy. May you be blessed with the clarity to see what has already been revealed and the insight to birth what has not yet been born. May you be blessed with speech, and may you be blessed with silence. May you be blessed with a community of colleagues, leaders, followers, and friends. May you be blessed with the humility of Torah Moshe, the attentiveness of Torah Aharon, and the courage of Torah Miriam. May you all be blessed as you go out to lead us all. Amen. And let us say, Amen.
As president of Hebrew College, it is with great joy that I welcome you to this 10th ordination ceremony of the Rabbinical School of Hebrew College. This year is a particularly special blessing for me to be present here today, as two of my former high school students from Yale Academy received smicha today. And yes, I do recall presiding at their high school graduation more than a decade ago. Of course, one of these students is also my dear cousin, with whom I have had the distinct privilege of sharing so much as close family and neighbors over the years, great joy and tragedy, a lot of learning, davening, singing, and eating together. And as I look upon this entire group of graduates, a complex yet cohesive cohort, it is a profound pleasure to participate in this sacred moment with all of you today. My beloved Musmachim, in this week's Torah portion, we read about the sanctification and dedication of the Reyim, the Levites who serve a special role in the life of the ancient Israelites. In many ways, you as rabbis will continue this tradition of the Reyim. And I want to point out just a few elements that I think are applicable to the service that you will render to the Jewish people. First, V'samchu b'nei Yisrael et yedehem al Levim. Let the children of Israel lay their hands on the Levim. The smicha, the laying of hands you experience today, just a few moments from now, represents not only Hebrew College's trust in you, but also the responsibility to serve the Jewish people. We ask that you be conscious at this moment that the people you will serve, and even those that you may not serve directly but share in the destiny of the Jewish people, they are all represented here today at your smicha ceremony. The parsha also makes clear that the Levi'im are literally weighed and designated as an elevation offering. And the pasuk concludes, V'hayu la'avod et avodat Hashem, that they may serve in the service of God. I don't want to make any jokes about clergy being korbanot, sacrifices, but I do want to remind you that your calling, your service, is to bring people closer to God, lahakrid, to model a relationship of spiritual intimacy with God. And finally, we read that the Levi'im, as they mature, v'sheret et achav, they are to assist and support their fellow Levi'im. We hope that the camaraderie that you have shared here with fellow students and with faculty will continue to be a source of support and learning as you grow and develop in your rabbinical vocations. We at Hebrew College are here for you as you journey forward. Please know that this will always be your home base, your base medrash, the spiritual home to which you can return and draw spiritual nourishment and rejuvenation for the journey ahead. Kol hakavod lachem, yizku v'yitzu, be fortified in your continuous quest for Torah learning, and be courageous in your service of God, the Jewish people, and human beings everywhere. Mazal tov.
Shalom to my dear colleagues in the faculty, my dear new rabbinic colleagues, and the wonderful group of alumni colleagues who are here, coming from far and near. How wonderful it is to celebrate with you and to see you all here today. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and blessings to you, and thank you for giving us your blessings. Today marks the 50th anniversary to the day of my ordination as rabbi. I was ordained on June 4th, 1967. The day before the outbreak of the Six-Day War. Eli Wiesel was the graduation speaker. It was a moment of high drama. The air was thick with rumors, with tremors of a new Holocaust, just as we as a community were beginning to come to terms with the last one. Because of this anniversary, I ask your forgiveness if I speak a bit longer and a bit more formally than I usually do on this occasion. I had no idea then that I would devote much of my energy over the next 50 years to rethinking the training of rabbis, culminating the program you Musmachim is now finished, completed. Why have I been doing this? It's part of a broader effort to create a language of Judaism that would speak to a new and very Americanized generation of Jews, people I began encountering in the 1980s when I was teaching them in university, and I've continued to encounter even more as the years and decades have gone by. What Judaism might make sense to these people, I ask myself. Why should they remain Jews? I began teaching and writing that vision of Judaism, trying to articulate it, something in which I'm still deeply engaged. But a crucial part of what I felt I could do would be to train leaders whom I get exposed to that vision and similar visions, and invite them to share some parts of it. The shaping of the Jewish future, as I envision it, requires attracting certain types of people to positions of Jewish leadership. It needed a new, informal, and intimate setting of learning, where such souls could flourish, finding both the nourishment and the freedom they needed to grow. Because each of those souls has a unique path and a unique route in Torah that has defined, and here is following the very best of Hasidic teaching, pluralism and openness were essential to the vision, and I meant it from the beginning. That explains many of the choices I have made, including the founding of this institution, the sort of faculty we sought to teach in it, and questions that emerged in the course of its existence. Essentially, I want to train rabbis who have three qualities: those of seekers, devotees, and lovers. From here on, I want to unpack what I mean by those three terms. After so many years of teaching and passing on the tradition, I still see myself primarily as a seeker. This means an ongoing quest to live in God's presence, to become more aware of the local lives, to both know that God's presence fills the world every day, and to share that insight with others. An ongoing quest is indeed one that never ends. It follows the teaching of the psalmist who says, Bakshu fanav tamid, seek God's face always. Each day and each moment offers a new opportunity, a unique opportunity to see the face of God that exists within and behind every face we encounter. I want seekers to become rabbis and rabbis to become seekers. For seekers to become rabbis requires us striking deep roots within the tradition, even while they're still seeking, becoming immersed in the sources. For rabbis to become seekers is a more difficult process. It means a reduction in self-assurance, finding room for more questions, and living with fewer answers. It's a new sort of rabbinic, one in which you are qualified to be a rabbi not because you have answers, a teacher not because you know, but only because you've been seeking a little harder and a little longer, perhaps with more access to the primary sources than those around you. Shmuel Yosef unknown story that he tells in the days of law. Rabbi Chaim of Tzams, the parable. A man was wandering around the forest for several days, not knowing which was the way out. Suddenly he saw a man approaching him. His heart was filled with joy. Now that I found you, I can certainly find my way. I'll know the right way, he thought to himself. When they neared one another, he asked the other, Brother, show me which is the right way. I've been wandering in this forest for several days. Said the other to him, Brother, I don't know the way out either. But I too have been wandering around this forest for many, many days. But I can tell you one thing. Do not take the path I've been taking, because it will lead you astray. And now let us begin to look for the way together. That's the kind of person I want to bring to the rabbinate. I've spent my life trying to create centers of rabbinic learning that would welcome them, brothers and sisters to seekers who surround them. I like to think of such rabbis as faithful descendants of our father Abraham, Avraham Avinu, the original iconoclast, remember, adventurer, religious experimentalist, one who took us all off on an endless journey on which we are still embarked. The rabbi's devotee should begin each day with a prayer of gratitude for the great privilege and responsibility of serving as a spiritual guide to others. The life of quest has to become one of service, both to God and to the community. The phrase, Ana Alta de Kusha Bricho, I am a servant of the Blessed Holy One, is not an easy one for modern lives like us, but it's essential to our task, to understand ourselves as here to serve. Being a devotee means cultivating your own inner life. The best tool we have for that is prayer, both traditional and spontaneous. Prayer is not easy for the newcomer, and is too easy for one who's used to it, who wears like an old shoe. We have to grow constantly in our life of prayer. So too in our ongoing learning. It's all about constant growth. In this way, seeker and devotee live together in our hearts. Our prayer book is a great help to this, if we are aware to open ourselves to it in the proper way. But so too are walks in the woods or around bodies of water. So too is spiritual friendship. We've tried to model spiritual friendship to you in your Hebrew. Don't ever be without it. And now on to the third part. Here comes the bumper sticker for it. Rabbis are great lovers. The Baal Shem Tov said that a soul would come into the world for the sake of three loves: the love of God, the love of Torah, and the love of all Israel. The first neo-Hasidic teachers more than a century ago, and we stand in their footsteps, already insisted on widening Israel to embrace all of humanity, everyone created in the image of God. Of the love of God we've already spoken, more on the love of Torah below. But the real test of love is our ability to generously and unselfishly love people. Yes, that continues to mean loving Jews in a special way. That's the community we're here to serve. There is no being a rabbi without coming to terms with that. We are here to be leaders of the Jewish people. We are here to stand up for the best of our tradition's values and moral teachings, and to guide Jews toward them. When our community turns away from those values, the failing is ours. We have not succeeded in our role as leaders. But our teaching is always also one that extends to all of humanity, indeed to all of God's creatures. The teaching of love. For us as Jews, God's love is manifest in a particular way, in the form of teachings. You so loved our ancestors, we say every morning at Avarabba, that you became their teacher. Give us that same grace. Be our teacher as well. We rabbis are here to help share that wisdom with others, to pass on the teaching and the love. God shows us to love. God shows us love through the act of teaching. We rabbis spend our lives learning to do the same. In a sense, love is all we have to offer. Our love of God, of Judaism, and of Jews. Everything else derives from that. In a sense, the other reasons for being Jewish are all gone now. Authority, fear, guilt, all that's slipped away. All we have left is our love. But that love is plenty if we learn both how to share it and how to replenish it. We have tried to model both of those for you. Who would have believed back in June of 1967 that 50 years later I'd be standing before a class of new rabbis who are being ordained in no less threatening times? The threat today is to our values, to our sense of human decency, to honesty and integrity in public life. Our country seems to be overrun by banality and stupidity, with the fate of humanity and our planet hanging in the balance precariously. In such an hour, we are in need of leaders. They have to be Anshim Midot, our wonderful biblical phrase that comes from next week's parsha. It can sometimes be translated people of values, but I also think of it as people who measure up to the needs of the hour. Anshim Midot. They need to be seekers of truth, devotees, both to God and to community, and lovers of God, Torah, and humanity. I have sought and found quite a few of such people over these 50 years, inviting them to join in the task of building a Jewish future. I am proud that you are now among them. Becoming a rabbi is a deeply humbling moment. Looking back on one's rabbinate 50 years later is no less humbling. May you all be worthy to be called rabbi someday. Amen.
Thank you so much, Art, for your words, for your wisdom and inspiration, as always. There really are no words to express the gratitude that we all feel for making all of this possible. And in honor of this occasion, of the 50th anniversary of your smicha, we wanted to present you with your own Hebrew College Rabbinical School. And now I'd like to invite members of our graduating class, our new group of rabbis, to offer some words of thanks that they wanted to offer to the community.
Just as we receive blessings in this moment of transition and transformation, we want to express our gratitude and extend to all those who have guided us to this place so many blessings.
We want to bless and acknowledge our families of origin. Thank you for bringing us into this world, for nourishing us with love and support, and guiding us to adulthood. We love you.
We want to bless and acknowledge our families of destiny, our partners, loves, friends, and chosen family. Thank you for journeying with us, for supporting us, and bringing us joy. We love you.
We want to bless and acknowledge our teachers, mentors, rabbinic supervisors, and colleagues. Thank you for teaching us Torah, guiding us through the professional world, helping us to uncover our own Torah and the skills that are ours to share with the world. We love you.
We want to bless and acknowledge our loved ones who have passed from this world. In life, you guided us with your presence and your love. Your memory lives on as a blessing for us. We hope that our lives unfold in a way that honors you and are deeply grateful for your presence in our lives. We love you.
We want to bless and acknowledge our community members, the people with whom we walk on a daily and weekly basis. Your presence brings joy and meaning into our lives. We love you.
We want to bless and acknowledge all those who have worked behind the scenes to make this special moment a reality. We hope that you will be showered with thanks for the traffic direction, space setup, beautiful programs, detail coordination, and so much more. We see you and are deeply grateful for all that you do. Finally, we want to bless and acknowledge the Holy One of Blessing, who has guided each of us to this moment. Ana Avdat Dekucha Barichu. We are each dedicated servants to your holy will and commit our lives to serving you.
Mishaberach Avotenu, may the Holy One who blessed our ancestors now bless all those who are gathered here today, whether in person or in spirit, with strength, health, happiness, and joy.
May our love and gratitude for each other grow ever stronger. May we be granted many more years to journey together.
May the work of our hands and the prayers of our heart be a force of healing, redemption, and joy in the world. And may we be blessed to see the world transformed for good, speedily and soon. B'mehera Yameinu. Amen. Amen.
This afternoon is a ritual of smicha, a ritual in which we, as the faculty of the Rabbinical School, place our trust in the students we are ordaining as rabbis today. There are two elements of spiritual preparation for the moment of smicha. First, each student will be wrapped in a talit, a prayer shawl, by one of their teachers, and we'll have a quiet moment for reflection and prayer. The talit has a protective, enveloping quality, and during this moment of quiet, while the student is being wrapped in the talit, we invite all those present to add their own blessings and prayers. After each student receives the talit, I will offer them a blessing on behalf of the faculty of the school. This blessing is our way of saying, before we place our trust in these students, that we see them, we respect them, and we appreciate them for who they are. Following these blessings, we will join in a ritual reading of the document of ordination, the Teudat Smicha, led by our teachers, Rabbi Ed Green and Rabbi Evan Meter. I'd like to call forward now Rabbi Leora Abelson, whose talit will be presented by Rabbi Or Rose. recently you taught us a Mishnah about the proper way to enter the temple area. Quote, everybody who goes onto the Temple Mount enters on the right and exits on the left, except for someone who has suffered a loss. This includes mourners, one who has been excommunicated, one who has a sick person in the house, and one who has lost an object. The imagery of the Mishnah is stunning. There are certain times when personal suffering or loss cuts us off from the flow of the community. We can feel like we are both literally and metaphorically out of step, walking against the tide. In these moments, you pointed out, the Mishnah is concerned with language. What should one say? Why are you coming from the left, one is to ask. And depending on the reason, our response must be different. Consolation requires precision, presence, and care. It's a powerful Mishnah in its own right, but it becomes even more poignant when read through the prism of your exquisite attentiveness. To be in community with you is to know that someone is always taking notice. Which way is the community heading? Who is walking against the current? Why? Is it because of someone or something they've lost? What words of comfort or connection might they need to hear? You understand what it means as a leader in community to have your eye on the whole, to keep track of a larger sense of direction, to cultivate a shared sense of service. But you also understand something else. A group of people that is always facing the same direction may be full of purpose. It may be a march, it may even be a pilgrimage, but it is not a community. I remember sometime during your internship year when you said to me with a dawning sense of awareness, at any moment, someone in the community is struggling. Someone is dealing with illness or loss. Somehow it seems like you always have to be taking that into account, you said. Yes. The Mishnah reflects this reality and then reminds us it is precisely in these moments of vulnerability that we have the opportunity to encounter each other face to face. It is in those moments, if we pause and turn toward rather than away from each other, that we become a holy community. Leora, your commitment to meeting people across difference and in moments of vulnerability is breathtaking. During your years in Rabbinical School, you have cared for beloved friends through loss and grief. You have tended to caretakers in need of care. You have stretched to stay in relationship with those whose ideas are profoundly different from your own. You have helped people recover things they didn't even know they had lost. You have embodied the teaching of the Reyim, the two friends learning in Chavruta, are like the Kruvim that rested on top of the Holy Ark. Their faces are turned toward one another, and the presence of the Shekhinah rests between them. For the sake of your companions, for the sake of the house of the Holy One, may you continue to create holy community wherever you go. May you be met with the same loving attentiveness you show to others along the way. Yishalom b'chelech, shalva b'amonotayich. May there be peace within your walls and tranquility within your palaces. I'd like to call forward Rabbi Ezra. Ezra, Katriel, Pinchas, Averet, Balzer. His talent will be presented by Rabbi James Hammer. You wrote the following message to our listserv a couple of years ago at the beginning of the Hebrew month of Elul. Quote, "It's that time of year again. Every morning when I hear the sound of the shofar, I think to myself, how can I be better than I was last year?" And then you continued, "How can I be better than defending fantasy football champion Hillel Reyim?" Thankfully, every Jew has the opportunity to ask themselves these critical, life-centering questions. You were wrapping up in your capacity as league commissioner and founder and president of the Sports and Leisure Committee. Ezra, the truth is that as hilarious as you can be, I don't know what we'll do without you on Purim, you take the task of self-reflection and personal growth as seriously as anyone I know. Virtually every teaching I've ever heard you share has made reference to a conversation with someone important to you. Your father, your mother, your wife, a chavruta, a teacher, a mentor, a friend. Someone who has challenged you in a way that you found illuminating, even transformative. To learn Torah from you is to witness someone who is always listening, always in process, always striving to grow in and through relationship. Your deep passion and intuitive talent for mentorship also flow from this midah, from this sense that we are and must be bound up in each other's learning and in each other's spiritual and moral lives. No one has been more attuned to the need for mentorship within our own community, offering guidance and support to younger students as they make their way through the program. As you wrote in your capstone project, the Torah of mentorship is ultimately about love, loyalty, and learning. I honestly can't think of 3 words that more aptly describe your way of being in the world. Your sense of arivut, of mutual involvement and responsibility, also manifests itself profoundly in your inspiring connection to and love for the land and people of Israel. A few years ago, while studying in Jerusalem, you wrote, quote, "I feel more at home here than anywhere else in the world. These are my people. This is my family. This is my city." You are a model of what it means to live in relationship with other people with integrity, honesty, compassion, and curiosity. Both when it's a pleasure and when it's a pain in the neck. You could call that pluralism, or you could just call it being an extraordinary mensch. Either way, your presence and investment in this community have called us all up a notch, making us better learners and better people. Ezra, we will miss you in your makom kavua in our Beit Midrash. I know that I will continue to glance over and expect to see you in that far corner for a long time. May you continue to have a powerful sense of where you stand, and may you draw from that deep sense of rootedness in Torah, in family, in community, in God, to reach out generously and generatively to those around you. In the words of Rabbi Natan, of course, may you be like a tree standing by the water. The four winds of the world may blow against it, yet they cannot move it from its place. As it is written, a tree planted by the water spreads its roots to the stream. Its leaves remain green, and it never ceases to bear fruit. I'd like to call forward now Rav Chazan, Rabbi Cantor Elizabeth. And Elizabeth's colleague is being presented by Rabbi Dan Judson. Elisa, when you were 10 years old, you made a list of goals. I happen to have a copy of it here. You might remember that item number 1 on the list was, quote, "When I am grown, I plan to be a rabbi." You went on to say, quote, "I will become a rabbi by studying under Rabbi Tirza Firestone and attending Rabbinical School for as long as it takes to become a rabbi." Or a Rav Chazan, as the case may be. You were also planning to have a lot of pets, all of whom were to be rescued from animal shelters, obviously. Already at 10, your beautiful neshama was shining through. Your fierce sense of determination, your love of Judaism, your compassion for all living creatures. Glimmers of other qualities could be discerned just below the surface. Your ability to take the long view, your deep sense of kibud morim, appreciation and respect for your teachers, your intense work ethic, and your rather intimidating capacity to get things done, all with extraordinary competence, grace, and care. The last line of your strategic plan was this, quote, "I will also get good grades in school, but most importantly, in the future, I will be me and stay true to my heart." This was your highest goal, and you have been steadfast in pursuing it. We are told that the menorah that appears in this week's portion, Baruch, was to be kept kindled at all times in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, and later in the temple in Jerusalem. Eventually, this light became known as the Ner Tamid, or perpetual light. A teaching from the Iturei Torah says, every person must light the Ner Tamid in her heart, and not only in the tabernacle or tent. She must light it outside the curtain, in street and marketplace, in all matters relating to her fellow human beings. Ner can be understood as an acrostic for nefesh ruach, a soul with spirit. This is the lamp we must light regularly. Eliza, you have tended carefully to the light of your Ner Tamid. You have stayed true to your heart. You are a nefesh ruach, a soul with spirit, and to be in your presence is to be warmed by your light. Earlier this year, your lifelong teacher, Rabbi Tirza Firestone, reflected on a recent visit she had taken to support the water protectors at Standing Rock. In the 6 days we were there, she wrote, I encountered no trace of cynicism. You can't pray and be cynical at the same time. Every person I met at Standing Rock had an almost childlike sincerity. I witnessed no eye-rolling, no whispering, no cell phones. There was nothing for sale. Eliza, I have never encountered a trace of cynicism in you. Tirza is right. You can't pray and be cynical at the same time. And in a deep sense, you are always praying. Wherever you are, you're standing before the Holy One, drawing strength, offering praise, giving thanks. My bracha for you is from the prophet Zephaniah and draws on the root of your name, Eliza, which means joy. Simchi ve'azi b'chol lev bat Yerushalayim. Rejoice and be glad with all your heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. May you continue to rejoice with a whole heart, and may you forever be an agent of joy and healing in this world. Forward now, Rabbi Moshe Tiferet, given to this colleague, will be presented by Rabbi Andrews. Begin with a quote. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. These words from the historian Howard Zinn have stayed with me, both because of their power and prescience, and because I first heard them from you. No one could accuse you of being a foolish romantic. You are well aware of the cruelty of human history, and particularly the self-destructive folly of our own time as we continue to threaten the future of our planet. But what you choose to emphasize in your own life and in the people whose work you emulate and admire is compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. I have been moved again and again by the rigor and depth with which you return to the question of hope, not as an expression of naive optimism, but as a discipline, a commitment, a spiritual practice. As one of your important teachers, Joanna Macy, writes, active hope is not wishful thinking. It is not waiting to be rescued by some savior. Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life, on whose behalf we can act. 3 summers ago, for several weeks, you joined the Great March for Climate Action from Los Angeles to DC. Afterwards, reflecting on how the experience had affected your relationship with hope, you shared this from the Chinese novelist Lu Xun. Quote, hope cannot be said to exist, nor can it be said not to exist. It is just like roads across the earth, for actually the earth had no roads to begin with. But when many pass one way, a road is formed. Moshe, you have continued the walk you began that summer, joining those who through study and prayer and dialogue and action are trying to form a road to hope on this precious and vulnerable earth. As a student here, you have insisted every step of the way on bringing your most honest and serious questions to the table. You have often reminded me in my own mind of something I heard years ago from Rabbi Chaim Brandner, who said, there are really only two questions to ask about any rabbinic text. The first is, what are they saying? And the second is, how can they say that? I am happy to say that you have mastered both questions. It is by asking such questions that you have shaped your own Torah of hope, not of wishful thinking or of miracles that will save us from ourselves. Instead, you've taught us the essence of a miracle is not what it reflects about God's power, but what it awakens in us. The Hebrew word for miracle is nes, a sign or a banner, something that comes along and if we're paying attention, allows us to perceive something new, to see something for the first time. Faced with crisis, you have asked, can we take notice of the bush that is burning before us? Wherever you go, may you hear the Holy One calling, V'yeh imach, I will be with you always. Or in the words of Rilke, God speaks to each of us as he makes us. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. I now call forward Rabbi Monica Gomri. This tallit will be presented by Rabbi Shana Rose. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. We hung our harps upon the willows. How shall we sing Adonai's song in a strange land? You sang this song and reflected on it recently in your closing conversation with your teachers. I am told, you said, that in every generation there are Jews who search every tree along the banks of what was ancient Babylon, looking for the instruments we lost. It was this longing that brought you to Rabbinical School. As the granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, you came, quote, to find something that had gone missing in your life and in the legacy of your family. You came to find a home in this spiritual tradition. And for you, that meant, perhaps above all, learning the songs of your people. Monica, you have not only found a home for yourself in this spiritual tradition, you have creatively, courageously opened it up as a home for others. For the teens you've invited into the Beit Midrash, for the queer community you've welcomed into the traditionally radical yeshiva at Sfar, for the many people you've invited into song and connection through Let My People Sing. In a deep sense, you are finding ways, along with others, to take the harps from the willows and help our people's hearts sing again. But you also understand deeply, intimately, that the journey from exile to return, from silence to song, from love to loss and back to love again, is not a linear one. It is recapitulated again and again in our people's history and in our personal lives. Monica, you have an extraordinary way of coaxing meanings out of ancient words. I would say new meanings, but they don't actually feel new in your hands. Listening to your poetic, midrashic readings of ancient sources, one can almost hear the text sighing with relief and whispering, "Thank you." Thank you for putting your ear to the page. Thank you for listening so closely, so deeply, and so well. I felt those whispers of gratitude as I read your beautiful poem called "To Say," in which you write, "To lie down beside the fresh earth of your grave and look up at the willow, at the widest sky." Suddenly I heard our song in a way I'd never heard it before. Not only as a collective lament, but as a personal reflection on what it is we learned there by the rivers of Babylon. About what it means to live between exile and return, yes, but also about what it means to live between riverbank and willow tree, between earth and sky. Your words call to mind the words of the poet Stephen Dunn. Quote, "Maybe from the beginning, the issue was how to live in a world so extravagant it had a sky, in bodies so breakable we had to pray." Monica, you carry this mysterious and tender truth with you. I think it's part of what makes you such an exceptional Bala Tefillah. Your prayer begins from the soles of your feet. It rises up from the ground on which you stand, and it lifts us all to the treetops and beyond. My blessing for you is based on the traditional morning piyut of Devael. Take care of your soul, my friend. She is turquoise, agate, and jasper. Your soul is carved from the throne of the Most High, a precious gem hewn from earth and sky. To call now Rabbi Eli Lehman, whose talit will be presented by Rabbi Alan Lehman, his Abba. Ellie, as I was reading your capstone project recently, I think I finally figured out your secret superpower. There is something truly extraordinary about your field of vision. You have a remarkable way of seeing beyond yourself to those around you, and beyond what is, to what might be. Your capstone, the Global Fellowship Program that you've created, is an amazing act of imagination, inspiration, collaboration, and coordination. If you only had the vision to develop a program to send rabbinical students to serve as teachers and spiritual leaders in remote communities in Africa and South America, dayenu. But it's more than that. The whole project flows from your capacity to look beyond the existing boundaries and biases of mainstream Jewish life and ask what it might look like for the Jewish community to actually embrace and serve these communities. With your characteristic blend of humility, courage, and compassion, you invite people to try to glimpse the possibilities that you see. As you wrote, quote, allowing people to share in your story is not easy. Judaism is so much about vishinantem levanecha, passing our story from one generation to the next. By welcoming others in, our story gets reshaped and we have to relearn it. There's loss in that new transmission, but also possibility for deep beauty, energy, and interconnectedness. And you ask, what's at stake if we do not create welcoming spaces in our communities and in our hearts for these groups who deeply wish to become recognized as Jewish? I heard you ask a similar question in another context in a Dvar Torah that you gave earlier this semester for a group of undergraduates at Tufts Hillel. Reflecting on the role of the Kohanim, the priests, in Parshat Shmini, you cited the verse, Krav el hamizbeach, draw close to the altar. And you enjoined your students to think about what it would mean for them to step up to the altar, and bring their unique gifts to the community. And then you asked the question, what's at stake if you don't step up? It was so clear the value that you saw in each of them and the possibilities for leadership that you wanted to invite them to see in themselves. At your closing conversation, you shared a commentary by the Ma'or Reyim in which he teaches, every one of Israel contains the entire Torah, and every worshiper is called a priest. And when one lives in this awareness, one brings about peace in the heavenly family above and in the earthly family below. This, he says, one can only do by being ohevet habriot umekarvan Torah, by loving all people and drawing them close to Torah. Ellie, this is what you do. You look beyond yourself and you draw people close. And each time you do so, you bring your own beloved family in the upper world and in the earthly world together in peace. The Kehavot asks, who is wise? Ezu chacham haro'eh et hanolad, the one who sees what's being born. The nolad here refers both to the first sliver of moon in the sky at the beginning of the new Hebrew month and to a newborn child. Ellie, you have blessed all of us so deeply with your capacity to see slivers of possibility in the sky and in ourselves. May you be blessed to see these possibilities in yourself. And with the beginning of the new year, this Rosh Hashanah, B'Shat Tova U'Mutzlachat, may you be blessed as you see and draw close your own newborn child. Rabbi Sarah Mulhern, whose Talit will be presented by Rabbi Michael Rosenberg. I think it is safe to say that as a Torah-loving, justice-seeking, world-traveling, hat-wearing, fiercely feminist, fast-talking, nigun-singing, halacha nerd from Utah, you defy categorization. Of course, for you, everyone defies categorization. At the deepest level, this has to do with your appreciation for the teaching from Mishnah Avot. Rabbi Akiva would say, human beings are beloved because they were created in the image of God. It is an even greater love that this was made known to humanity. I'm afraid this has not been made known to as much of humanity as we would like. However, it has certainly been made known to you. The idea that every single human being is created in the image of God, irrepressibly unique, irreducibly equal, infinitely complex and precious, is more than an abstraction for you. It is an insistent and obvious truth. To flatten a person and see them as only one thing, only one part of themselves, is to diminish and demean the divine image. It's not just that you honor the differences between people and within them. You're fascinated and delighted by these differences, and sometimes I think mildly entertained. Perhaps this is what makes you such an unflappable facilitator. You have the capacity to skillfully facilitate learning and conversation among people of different backgrounds, practices, and perspectives without being flustered or afraid of conflict. You know what it means to create space for multiple points of view, both in a room full of people and in a heart full of rooms. You are passionate about the idea that Torah belongs to every Jew and that all of us are part of Torah. In a wonderful teaching on Parashat Nitzavim, you highlighted the inclusion of the entire community in that covenantal moment. Quote, you stand this day, all of you, before Adonai, your God. From the tribal heads to the wood choppers and water drawers, everyone is acknowledged and everyone is needed in order for the vision to be complete. The text goes on to say, I make this covenant not with you alone, rather both with those who are standing here with us this day and with those who are not here with us this day. These words have a particular bittersweetness as we think of your Abba, Zichrono Livracha, who is not here with us today. May they also be a consolation and a call. This covenant of Torah that you're committing to carry forward as a Rav Israel, as a rabbi, as a teacher, and no less important, as an imam, holds us all in its embrace, souls of generations past, present, and future. Your Abba would be so proud. In the book of Genesis, the Torah tells us that Isaac dug anew the wells which had been dug in the days of his father. You have taught so beautifully the commentary by the Ordination. It interprets this verse metaphorically. After the death of Abraham, the well springs of wisdom were sealed. Then Abraham's son Isaac came along and, following in his father's footsteps, taught the people of his own generation how to dig again into the fount of living waters. Sarah, may you continue to teach the people of our generation how to dig again into the fount of living waters. May Torah be a deep and ever-replenishing well for you, an elixir of life. L'chaim v'lo mavet, l'sova v'lo l'razon, l'ivracha v'lo l'ikara, for blessing, for fullness, for life. Amen. Rabbi A. Mirset, his talit will be presented by Dr. Rachel Aikman. This fall, just a few days after the election, you stood before our community and offered a prayer. Holy Blessed One, you began, today I don't have the words. I sent down my bucket into the well of language and brought it up empty. And then, of course, somewhere in that deep place where the well of your heart meets the well of Torah, you found the words we all needed to hear. You have taught us about drawing water from wells before. It was from you that I first learned the beautiful midrash about Judah's words to Joseph at the end of Bereshit, the end of the book of Genesis. The midrash compares Joseph to a deep well full of cold water. Quote, its water was cold and fresh, but no one could drink it. He was like a sealed well, closed off, estranged from his brothers and from himself. Then, says the midrash, someone came and tied rope to rope, cord to cord, string to string, and drew the water and drank. And everyone began to draw the water and drink. In the same way, Judah did not stir until he had responded to Joseph, word by word, and had reached his heart. Gray, as poet and preacher, as student, teacher, and friend, you tie rope to rope, cord to cord, string to string. When you tether words together and send your bucket down to the well of the human heart, we all drink more deeply. Recently you shared with us words of poetry from Allen Ginsberg, words that have a haunting resonance in our own time. America, he writes, this is quite serious. America, is this correct? And finally, America, I'm putting my queer shoulder to the wheel. Thinking about all the work you do with your queer shoulder, the wheels you set in motion, and the weight you carry, I noticed a verse in yesterday's Parsha in a new way. The text tells us how the sacred tabernacle was to be transported through the wilderness. Several of the tribes were equipped with oxen and wagons to assist in the task, but about one of the Levite clans, the Torah tells us, Moses did not give any wagons or oxen to them. Because the divine service was upon them, they raised it directly upon their shoulders. Sfat Emet notes that the Midrash, commenting on this verse, speaks of song. He says, but what does song have to do with raising things up on one's shoulder? This can only be understood by recalling the verse from Samuel, quote, I'm not kidding, the cows went straight vayisharna along the way. This is interpreted to mean that the cows sang sharu as they carried the ark to Jerusalem. And then the Sfat Emet adds this, it is because they were carrying the holy ark that they were given the awareness to sing. And the same is true of the Levites. The fact that they carry the ark on their shoulders gives them the power to lift their voices in song. Pray as you raise and carry holy vessels on your own shoulders. May the burden never be too heavy for you to bear. May your sacred service give you the power to lift your voice in poetry and song. In the concluding words of your own post-election prayer, may you take your fear and set it to music. May you take your anger and set it to music. May you take your questions and set them to music. May you take your love and set it to music. May you set it all to music, and may you sing. To call Rabbi Ariel Rosenberg, whose talit will be presented by Rabbi Evan later. You recently taught us a midrash that makes a staggering claim about the history of human silence and song. Quote, "From the day that the Holy Blessed One created the world until the day that Israel stood at the sea, no human being sang a song to God." A series of earlier events are brought as evidence. Moments of divine grace that might have elicited songs of thanksgiving or praise, but instead were met with silence. Abraham rescued from the fire, Isaac saved from the knife, Jacob's life spared not once but 3 times. From the moment the first human being was given breath, no one sang to the Holy Blessed One. But when Israel arrived at the sea and it split before them, immediately they sang out to God. Az Yashir Moshe Uvnei Yisrael. The Midrash testifies on one level to the utterly unprecedented exuberance of that moment when we finally left Egypt behind. The splitting open of the sea is met and matched by a splitting open of the human heart, and what pours forth is the world's first song to God. But the Midrash is not naive, and neither are you. There is a shadow side to the litany of narrow escapes that are recounted in this Midrash, a story of human trauma and the trail of silence it can leave behind, as well as intimations of divine loneliness and longing. Ariel, you know what it means, you know what it takes to listen to the silences that this Midrash preserves, even as you passionately carry forth its song. Anyone who has dug in Hallel with you knows what it feels like to be transported to the shores of the sea, to be summoned to a joyful and full-throated celebration of just how much there is to be grateful for. And yet you also insist on speaking to the truths of human suffering, teaching a Torah of aspiration and agitation, a Torah of grief over the distance between heaven and earth, between the world as it is and the world as it could be, the world as it should be. You teach this Torah with tremendous dignity, with tears sometimes, but never with despair. Not long ago, you gave a direct Torah that captivated the community at B'nai Jeshurun, I hear, in which you spoke about what it means to find our way in the darkness, to respond to the call to hope and action, even when there is no burning bush, no clear invitation. You spoke about the obligation to keep a fire burning on the altar always, all night and all day. Tending the fire is a practice, you said. We must tend our own flames, especially in these dark times. Each day, as you tend to the fire on your own altar, may you awaken to the divine light that shines on us all. האל הפותח בכל יום דלתות שערי מזרח ורוקח חלוני רקיע. Or to translate just a little bit loosely, light is returning. Even though it is the darkest hour, no one can hold back the dawn. Wherever you go, may you know that you stand before the throne of glory, and the Holy One is waiting for your song. Call now Rabbi Micah Shapiro. Lyrics will be presented by Dr. Rick Morgan. You've been making music for a long time. Ever since you composed your first arrangement of You Can Call Me Al on a beloved old 6-track keyboard, you've been exploring the intricacies of melody, harmony, and composition. You came to Rabbinical School knowing that music, quote, set your spirit on fire, but wanting to channel that energy into the service of something greater than yourself. Raise up your offering and enter the courtyards of the Holy One. This is one of many verses of Psalms from Kabbalat Shabbat that you have set to music in recent years. And with eloquent simplicity, it speaks to the longing that first brought you to this work. It is an invitation, and it is also an affirmation. You are worthy and blessed with precious gifts to offer. You are seen, addressed, and invited to bring those gifts and enter into the courtyards of devotion. The work you've already begun to do as a spiritual leader is a living commentary on this verse. Writing in the second person plural, the psalmist welcomes and calls upon all of us to recognize and raise up our own sacred offerings. 2 years ago, after a profoundly generative songwriting retreat in the Arava Desert, you sensed more deeply than ever that a part of your rabbinic work would be inviting others into the search for God's presence through music. You came back to Boston and launched Shabbat Maria, and soon after Yetzirah, the Jewish Songwriters Collective. The words of W.H. Auden come to mind. In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountain start. Micah, your music is a healing fountain. Not only because of your raw talent and creativity, not only because of your presence as a prayer leader, but because of your willingness to enter into the desert to receive Torah, to listen deeply to the intricate grammar of the Hebrew language and of your own heart, to humbly invite others to lift up their own voices, to bring the offerings of their own souls. Perhaps it's not by chance that the psalmist uses the word mincha in this verse. Mincha, as you know, means gift and is one of several biblical terms for sacrificial offering, but it refers specifically to the modest meal offering, made from wheat flour, inexpensive, and therefore available to every member of the community. The Talmud notes that with reference to the person who brings the mincha offering, the Torah uses the word nefesh, or soul, while elsewhere it uses the term adam. Why? Because, says the Talmud, the worth of a sacrifice is measured not by its monetary value, but by the genuine intention with which it is brought. When poor people bring an offering, however meager, God considers it as if they had offered their own soul. A bracha for you who comes from the prophet Micah, whose name you share. Yigid lecha Adam ma tov, u'ma Adonai doresh mincha. May you listen deeply to what you already know is good and what is asked of you. Ki im asot mishpat ve'avat chesed ve'atznei lechet v'nevalecha. This, the prophet reminds us, is the purpose of all our offerings: to do justice, to love chesed, and to walk humbly with the Holy One. Can you? Aharon Chaviv, Rabbi David Winship. It will be presented by Rabbi Nehemiah Paul, who is Mishpacha B'Ayah, exactly, who is a cousin, as well as a beloved teacher. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov taught, there are many who have fallen into a deep sleep. Hopefully not here. Some people believe they are serving God, but they are really sleeping. Others are in such a deep slumber that they do not even know they are asleep. The only way to wake people up is through stories. David, you came to Rabbinical School already with a well-established reputation for your remarkable storytelling ability. Legend has it that you can actually keep a religious school classroom full of 8th graders awake and attentive for an entire hour. There are some misnagdim who say that such a thing is not possible. But we have many eyewitness accounts. Rabbi Nachman talks about the power of stories to rouse people from their slumber. He is talking about more than this. David, I have seen you exemplify and elicit a deeper sense of wakefulness. Not only when you're in front of a crowd telling the stories you love so dearly, but more importantly, when there's no audience, whenever and wherever you find yourself faced with another human being in need. This, for you, is the heart of what it means to be a Jew. Engaging in tzedakah, you have taught, is the most important way we interact with God. And you understand that we need stories to help us get there, to help motivate and inspire us to righteous action. Not because we don't know what's right, but because there are 100 excuses and 1,000 distractions that keep us from acting on what we already know. Magi Yitzchak Buxbaum explains it this way in the name of his teacher, Reb Shlomo. Quote, stories are so real. Imagine that the Torah quoted all of our father Abraham's teachings and told us nothing about him. We wouldn't remain as his children today. We need to hear that there was a Jew, Abraham, who actually opened the door to the poor. David, your Torah is the Torah of the open door. It is deeply related to the teaching you treasure from your father, whenever possible, to say not yet rather than no. Whether you're telling a story or talking to a stranger on the street, helping someone who's lonely or helping someone who's lost, hosting a Shabbos meal or studying with your chavruta in the Beit Midrash, you embody this ethic of hospitality, generosity, love. Your Torah begins and ends with the questions, how can I help? What can I give? This orientation to the world is somewhere between a reflex and a religious obligation for you, which is to say that the questions come naturally to you, but the answers take rigorous attention and hard work. In this regard, you are quick to forgive others, but you hold yourself to the highest standards. At the root of all our words for sacred space, Beit Tfilah, Beit Midrash, Beit Knesset, is the word Bayit, or home. I know that all who enter the synagogue where you will serve, whether they come for prayer or study or companionship and connection, will find you, like Avraham Avinu, there by the open door, lovingly welcoming them home. B'zeh bayit tishret bracha. May abundant blessings flow in your own home and in the home that you help create for others. May every place you call bayit be filled with light and joy, and may those who dwell there know tranquility and peace. The ordination document that we're about to read is not just a diploma. It too is an articulation of the trust that we place in our students and the charge that we lay upon them through the act of smicha. The document will be recited first in Hebrew and then in English. While the students will be standing throughout the recitation, you will see the faculty of the Rabbinical School stand at the point where the title of rabbi is conferred upon the students. The document also acknowledges that becoming a rabbi is only in part an expression of trust from one's teachers. One also becomes a rabbi through the trust given by the people who accept the person as their rabbi and teacher. We therefore ask that the whole kahal, the whole audience, rise at the point this trust is expressed in the document as representatives of the many communities that will take these students as rabbis and teachers. This will happen near the end of the English reading, and we will signal you when to rise.
With knees, please rise and face your teachers. Faculty of the Rabbinical School, please rise. אנו, מורי בית המדרש לרבנים של המכללה העברית, מודיעים נאמנה כי תלמידינו אלו, שחלקם מיושבי בית מדרשנו, סיימו את חוק לימודיהם. זה כמה שנים שקדו על התורה ועל העבודה, ויגעו בהלכה ובהגדה, בנגלה ובנסתר, ובהכשרה לעשות בצורכי ציבור באמונה. בתורת אדוני חפצם, ולא זזו ממנה עד שעשאוה תורתם. בסוד חברים מקשיבים, עשו אוזנם אפרכסת וליבם חדרי חדרים, לפתוח את ליבם לשיבים, לפתוח ולהיפתח לשיבים פניה של תורה, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, למען קרב את ליבות עדת ישראל, למצוא כל אחד ואחת את נתיב נשמתם בתורה.
We, the faculty of the Rabbinical School of Hebrew College, give faithful testimony that these students have been devoted participants in our House of Learning and have completed the required course of study for rabbinic ordination. During the years here, they have been eager and diligent in the study of Torah, in prayer, and in service, and have studied Jewish thought and Jewish practice, searching for meaning revealed and hidden. The Torah of the Blessed Holy One is their desire, and they have been steadfast in making that Torah their own. Amid a circle of listening companions, they have opened heart and ear to the 70 faces of Torah, to study and to teach, to keep and to fulfill, to draw the hearts of Israel near so that each individual might find his or her own path to Torah.
Please rise. ועל כן, חכם יתקראו ורבי יתקראו. ומילאנו את ידם לשאת את משרת הרבנות על שכמם, והיינו נכונים ומוכנים לעמוד כל אחת ואחת לפני העדה אשר תבחר בם. וכעלי עדתם עליהם יסמוכו כאשר שמחנו אנו, ועליהם תבוא ברכת טוב. כל מנדם סמוכו לנו.
Therefore, they shall be called rabbi. We have ordained them. We have ordained them to take upon themselves the service of the rabbinate. We attest that they are fit and prepared to stand before communities that may rely upon them as we have in ordaining them. And may blessings of goodness come upon them all.
Adonai hayta zot. Hi niflat be'einenu. This is from God and it's amazing. Now each of you have received a beged chadash, a new garment. There's a blessing to say. There's a bracha to make upon receiving a new garment. So if you would say together, Birkat Shehechianu, and others might want to join you as well, and I think this would be appropriate now. B'vakasha. Baruch Adonai Elohim melech haolam she'echadu v'yimanu v'hiyanu l'zman hazeh. You abound in blessing, you who have kept us in life, and sustained us, and brought us to this moment. We're about to leave this place, and we got words for that too. Ki havu mifterei rabbanan. When the sages took leave of the study hall, they would say the following blessing: Olamcha tireh b'chayecha. Ve'achricha l'chayei ha'olam haba, v'tikvatcha l'dor dorim. May you see your world in your lifetime, and may your end be to life in the world to come, and may your hope be sustained for many generations. May your heart meditate understanding, your mouth speak wisdom, and your tongue whisper with praise. May your eyelids look directly before you, your eyes shine in the light of Torah, and your face radiate like the brightness of the firmament. Siftotecha yabiyu da'at, v'chilyotecha ta'alozna mesharim, Ufte'amecha yarutzu lishmoa divrei atik yomin. May your lips express knowledge, your kidneys rejoice in the upright, and your feet run to hear the words of the Ancient of Days. Ki v'simcha tetzeu u'v'shalom tuvalun. Heharim v'hagvaot yiftzechu lifnechem rina, v'chol atzei sadeh yimcha uchaf. May you leave in joy and be led in peace. Before you mount and hill shall shout aloud, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Can I get an amen?
These students have been devoted participants in our house of learning and have completed the required course of study for rabbinic ordination. During their years here, they have been eager and diligent in the study of Torah, in prayer, and in service. Therefore, they shall be called rabbi. We have ordained them to take upon themselves the service of the rabbi. We attest that they are fit.
Adonai hayta zot. from God, and it's amazing.